I never imagined my 120-acre ranch would turn into a combat zone until I saw floodlights click on at 3:14 a.m. Before we dive in, comment which country you're watching from today. I was on the porch of my newly built cabin, coffee in hand, soaking in the kind of silence that only comes from hard-earned freedom. No bosses, no alarms, just me, my dogs, my goats, and 120 acres I'd paid for in sweat and scars. Then I spotted it, a white plastic sign zip-tied to my fence. Property under review, Carson Valley HOA compliance required. I stared at it a full minute, then ripped it down and tossed it into the fire barrel, chalked it up to bored kids playing HOA cosplay. Big mistake. The next morning, HOA President Bella Carson arrived in a pastel polo and mirrored shades, clipboard tucked under her arm like a weapon. "I'm Bella Carson, HOA President," she chirped. "I'm here to welcome you, under our compliance protocols." She handed me a manila envelope, diagrams of my barn, red-circled fence photos, even a citation for my satellite dish obstructing the southern view corridor. I burned it on the spot. 2 days later, laminated signs appeared. "Enforcement review underway," nailed to my barn door. I tore them down, and that's when the men came. Two middle-aged goons in khaki vests stamped HOA patrol, walkie-talkies crackling. They strolled my fence line, clipboards out, jotting notes on my tractor's age and my goat's ratio. I stepped off the porch. "Something I can help you with?" They froze. "Compliance sweep under HOA protocol," one stammered. I leaned in. "Got a badge?" They didn't, and they knew I'd already called the county sheriff, who laughed that no such HOA authority existed. That afternoon, I reactivated buried trip alarms, reset trail cams, and armed my motion sensor floodlights. I wasn't planning war, just sending a message. This land bites back. 2 nights later, before dawn, I heard it. Synchronized crunches on gravel. 5 shadows moving around my barn, now equipped with headlamps, earpieces, vests, and weapons. They whispered into their radios, "Team Alpha in position. Phase 1 raid." I never flinch at quiet threats. I stoked my coffee's heat, slipped into my tack coat, and waited for them to knock on the door of a former Navy SEAL's home. I watched them fan out under the barn's overhang, 5 silhouettes hunched low, headlamps off, standard to avoid detection. Their earpieces crackled. "Alpha team in position. Phase 1 raid." I inhaled the last of my coffee, slipped the tack coat over my shoulders, and stepped into the floodlit yard. The first man crept toward the fence rail. I fired the siren circuit I'd rigged weeks ago. 4 directional alarms screeched like banshees. He froze, hand inches from the rail. Before he could react, I charged. I caught him at the ankle, twisted hard. His kneecap shattered with a sick snap. He collapsed, screaming, clutching his leg. Bone fragments ground in the dirt. His partner wheeled with the rifle they'd stashed at the barn door. I used the momentary stun to vault over the fence, steel toes echoing on slats, then disarmed him in a clinch. My forearm slammed to his wrist, wrenching the barrel sideways. He yelped as the rifle clanged to the ground. Clipboard guy, third in line, fanned papers in his hand. "Under HOA Emergency Code 98, he barked. I snatched the clipboard, yanked off his vest, and leveled the flashlight at his eyes. "Who vouched for you?" He swallowed, tears streaking dirt across his cheeks. Bella Carson," his voice cracked. She authorized us." That confession hit harder than a punch. 2 more lurked by the barn windows. I sprinted at the nearest fresk, drove an elbow into his ribs, and spun him into the wood frame. His sternum caved in with a series of cracks, and he crumpled. The last goon fumbled a stun gun. I caught his wrist mid-press, snapped it back, heard a wet pop. His arm went dead. He dropped the weapon and sank to one knee. 5 men down, broken bones tallying higher than their hubris. I stood chest high, flashlight scanning ragged breaths and bloodied vests. The yard was mine again, until the sheriff's cruiser lights carved arcs across the barn. Sheriff Morales stormed in, gun trained, voice booming over the fading alarms. "Everybody stay where you are." He cuffed the nearest goon first, then clipboard guy, reading rights off his phone. Morales glanced at me, bruised knuckles and all. "You all right?" he asked, holstering his weapon. "Just enforcing perimeter security," I replied, nudging the broken kneecap with my boot. Morales grimaced but nodded. As he loaded the injured men into his cruiser, clipboard guy kept repeating Bella's name. Morales swore under his breath. "I'll call the state attorney," he promised. "This goes beyond any HOA." I watched the cruiser roll away, headlights fading into the dawn. My land had defended itself, but the fight wasn't over. Bella Carson's reach ran deeper than I'd thought. Dawn would bring new challenges, and I'd be ready. News of the Dawn raid spread faster than wildfire. By sunrise, my phone buzzed nonstop. Neighbors checking in, local reporters sniffing for details, even messages from farmers in neighboring counties who'd faced similar compliance sweeps. I poured fresh coffee on the porch and watched my land wake. Goats bleating, ranger padding between my legs. Sheriff Morales called mid-morning. I've got a criminal investigation open on Bella Carson. Impersonation, assault, conspiracy. The state attorney's dropping charges within 48 hours. He hesitated, then added, "You might want to think about your next steps." I didn't need telling twice. I loaded the encrypted drive I'd recovered from Bella's headquarters into my laptop, 4 folders labeled infiltration, conditioning, pressure, correction. The same files I'd glimpsed before, mixed with new internal memos, pilot programs, shell nonprofits, and a spreadsheet of resistance nodes that included my neighbors' names. Someone had weaponized a clipboard to drive us out, and now the cleanup began. By noon, I'd filed a federal whistleblower complaint with the DOJ. Detailed affidavits, video of bone-snapping moves, clipboard guy's confession, and the drive's full contents. I included a redacted copy of the resistance nodes list, protecting the innocent. The submission portal bit at my fingertips. Once I hit send, there was no turning back. That evening, I set up a live stream on my porch. I recapped the raids, showed clips of the broken kneecap and snapped forearm blurred out for privacy, and detailed the drive's explosive contents. This is bigger than any HOA, I told viewers. It's a test run for rural suppression tactics. Comments scrolled in real time. Solidarity, outrage, even tips from vets who'd seen similar psychological operations overseas. As dusk fell, a black SUV rolled down the gravel drive, familiar tinted windows. Ranger growled. I stepped forward with my shotgun slung low. The door opened. A Department of Justice agent in a tailored suit and stone-cold expression. "Mr. Ryder," she said, handing me a subpoena and a small USB drive marked Secure Evidence. "We'll need your testimony and new data from this drive." I slid the encrypted drive into her hand. She paused at the threshold. "Thank you for stepping forward. The real fight starts now." Then she climbed back into the SUV, and it slipped away into twilight. I locked the porch lights and leaned against the doorway, listening. The goats huddled by the barn. Crickets began their evening chorus. Freedom had always been hard-earned. Now it required constant vigilance. I lifted my coffee mug to the pale moon. "They thought they could break me," I whispered. "They were wrong. And out here, under these stars, I would make sure everyone knew it. They thought they could break my boundary with clipboards and fake laws, but all they did was forge my resolve. On this land, freedom isn't given or taken. It's fiercely defended under every star."